All right, welcome back to the 53rd episode of the podcast The Unknown. My name is Michael Volpe. I report from Chicago, Illinois. That is in Cook County, Illinois, and I write at michaelvolpe.substack.com. And my broadcast partner is living in Florida, somewhere around Fort Myers. His name is Richard Lukeman. That's in Lee County, Florida, named after the Confederate General Robert E. Lee. And he writes at lukeman.substack.com, which is spelled luthmann.substack.com. We got a lot to talk about. There's a couple of task force hearings this week for family court that we'll talk about. Paul Boyne's never ending case, we were hoping to have him here, is still never ending and more violations. But we want to start with President Trump once again violating the First Amendment, and you will defend it blindly because that's how you are. I'm going to get it up, but he wants to put people in jail for a year if you burn a flag. Is he kidding? What's
Uh,
going on here?
if you look at the executive order, it can't be just burning the flag. It's burning plus that leads to incitement. That's the language of the executive order, and you have it right there. So
Mhm.
Texas v. Johnson is the key case there from
Mhm.
1989, and they said that even burning the flag is a form of political expression protected by the First
Mhm.
Amendment. Trump
Right.
says flag burning plus equals
Right.
criminal activity, and very well may have agreement with five Supreme Court justices if this case gets revisited. In the
Mhm.
sense that I don't think Trump thinks that this executive order is going to be good law, but I think that by doing this, he could nudge the Supreme Court to turn this issue back to the states the same way they got rid of Roe v. Wade. They could get rid of Texas v. Johnson. And in New York, maybe in California, you might be able to burn an American flag. And in Texas and Florida, you might not be able to if it becomes a states' rights issue. As far as a federal crime, I think you're right. I think it's probably dead on arrival because it is very hard to prove that the burning the flag led to incitement and violence and criminality. As that's not part and parcel to expression. If flag burning is the charge that you have, there has to be about 15 other federal crimes that the person perpetrated before flag burning. That would be applicable. So
Well,
I think
well,
this is more of a play to his conservative Supreme Court justices.
there you go. This is more of a political stunt. First, if you burn someone else's flag, I think that's destruction of property. However, I don't think that's what he's referring to here. This is blatantly anti-First Amendment. He's playing to whatever base. I think the best part of this is how some of his lackeys just completely lose all of their principles in trying to defend him. Uh, but I don't know what that means. If you burn a flag and it leads to incitement, that sounds a lot like the way they put what's that one comedian from the 50s and 60s in jail from
Lenny Bruce.
Lenny Bruce. Yeah, that's how they put him in jail. They just find they don't like you, so they'll put you in jail. This is blatantly anti-First Amendment. I'm glad that in the executive order he acknowledged that there is Supreme Court precedent that states that you can't that burning a flag is covered by the First Amendment. But be that as it may, I don't know what he's trying to do here.
I told
Um,
you what he's trying to do, Mike. He's not wrong that the flag is a symbol of the country, and that many in America, most in America, have great respect for it.
mhm,
Obviously, there's a minority rights and there's dissent rights and everything else protected by the First Amendment. But
mhm.
I think that he's appealing to his Supreme Court justices to say, don't make this a federal issue anymore. Send it back to the states, and that way you'll have certain states where it
Except
will
the
be a crime.
First Amendment's not a states' right issue. I'm a states' rights person, except if it's specifically in the Constitution, which the
No,
First
no, no, no.
Amendment
You could
is.
you could say that it's not protected by the First Amendment, right?
It
And
is
then it could be
protected by the
criminalized.
First
But
Amendment.
but states could turn around and have their own laws that say that as part of
If you want to buy a flag just to burn it as a form of protest, that is up to you.
you can
But
do that.
but to
There's nothing
you
wrong with
can't
that.
make
There's nothing wrong with
you
it morally and politically, but there's nothing wrong with it constitutionally. That's true. However, they want to revisit the issue and say no, they're not going to get into that area, and they can actually say that because it's a symbol of the country, the flag deserves respect. So you never know. You don't know what they're going to do.
no, that's not the the First Amendment protects speech you don't like, not speech you do like. You know, you can't say that's not. you know, that's not how it works.
But Mike,
Of course,
why did
it's a
why did this
form
happen?
of expression.
Mike, why did this happen? Why did this happen? Because in Los Angeles, with the big riots out there, in New York with all the Mandami crowds, what are they doing? They're burning, they're waving Palestinian flags, they're waving Mexican flags, and it looks like we're under invasion, and they're burning American flags at the same time. If that type of situation powder kegs into violence, okay, then there should become an issue where you can have the federal authorities come in. Now, obviously, I agree that it's a federal issue in the first and foremost, but states could create situations where they're going to protect their citizens and not prosecute under state law, or even not recognize that. It would be only federal authorities that would go enforce those laws,
All right.
and that's the right, every right to do so.
Right. No, flag burning, it's clear that it's a First Amendment issue. And he's trying to make something by saying if it incites. Flag burning never incites. You'd have to do a lot more. So this guy, Michael Cernovich, called himself a First Amendment absolutist and then says pornography is not protected freedom of speech. Is this guy out of his mind? Does he not know about Pornhub? Has he never heard of Larry Flint? Hate to break it to you, Mike Cernovich, but pornography actually is protected. You can't, you got to be over 18. Look, this is fighting the Lenny Bruce battle again, where they decided that, what did they call it? That his comedy was, I don't remember the term they used, and they said it's not covered by the First Amendment, and they started putting him in jail for talking about sex and drugs and other blue topics or edgy topics. And he wants to fight that battle again. And Lenny Bruce died for your sins. Pornography is protected, and so is flag burning. And the only reason that Cernovich is suddenly against flag burning is because Donald Trump is against flag burning.
Mike, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know if you know it because you're in Illinois, but I can't get onto the internet on a Florida server to a porn site. There's a Florida law, there's laws in Texas and in other states that don't allow you to get on from a server in that state.
That's not actually true. The
Mike,
reason
you want to come to my house?
I know. I'll tell you why you can't get on. That's not exactly true. They require you to prove you're over 18, and those porn sites have decided that it's too cumbersome, so they won't let you on. But it's not that you can't get on. But yes,
it's the same result, though, Mike. Isn't that the fact of the same
listen, result? Lenny Bruce was doing his act at midnight. All right, you had to be over 18, and you had to buy a ticket. No one showed up to a Lenny Bruce comedy show by accident. And they started putting him in jail for off-color jokes that, of course, now no one thinks twice about. But it's the same thing here, and the same thing with pornography. You can't watch or distribute pornography to anyone under 18, but over 18, it is allowed. And the same thing with flag burning. He's appealing to his base.
You're wrong there. I think it's a fundamental right, Mike, that a child should be able to burn a flag with impunity.
Right. Well, I don't know if a child.
Judge Jeannie Pirro is saying that 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds are gangbangers and committing crimes, then they should be free to commit the crime of flag burning in Trump's America, right?
Right.
That's what you're saying?
So this is more evidence of Trump's anti-First Amendment. He sues you to infinity for every slight, tries to deport you if you're not a citizen for things you say. And now he's not a First Amendment president. I will tell you that. Go ahead.
Well, and the additional proof is the unicorn factory and the rainbow slide. It's just not true. Trump is the most First Amendment president we've had. After this, and if you look at, and I've written about some stuff very recently about how the mainstream media, the Democratic Party, cozied up, how there's large still collusion there, had been for years. And Trump opening it up. We have free speech again in America, and it's an enjoyable thing to have.
Unless you want to burn a flag. A Texas court tried and convicted Johnson. He appealed, arguing that his actions were symbolic speech protected by the First Amendment. The Supreme Court agreed to hear his case and then ruled in his favor. That shows you that this is not a states' right issue.
Michael,
the First Amendment issue.
The most important part of that case. See where it says reasoning right there? See where it says reasoning?
Okay, let's get back.
Okay. What's under that thing that says reasoning right there?
Dissent.
No. Go back to reasoning up there. The line right after reasoning. Go back up.
Whether
5-4. See right there?
Yeah, it's 5-4.
If you have 5 Supreme Court justices, the Constitution says whatever they say. And that's what the point is. This was a very close opinion in 1984. This could not be a close opinion. This could be 6-3 the other way under this Supreme Court.
Well, then they won't.
Prepare for it. Michael, just prepare for it. Prepare for that. Prepare for what's going to happen. prepare
the
for that to be
current,
overruled by
right,
Trump's Supreme Court, and then prepare for states like New York and Illinois and California to put their own little "you can burn the flag" statutes on the books.
right,
How crazy!
then
And
this,
they'll show you where the communists in America really live. Because any
right,
state
well,
that says, "Oh, there's a law that says you can burn a flag, the American flag, on the book,"
better to burn a flag than to pull a gun, as you would say. So then this Supreme
maybe.
Court would be against the First Amendment. Burning a flag is a form of speech. It's a form of expression. There's no two ways about it. If Nazis can go protest in Skokie, which at the time had the most Holocaust survivor per capita, then you can burn an American flag, except if Rick Monday is around. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're a little young. He was a Cubs outfielder who stopped some protesters from burning a flag. That was his form of speech. So Cracker Barrel, they changed their logo. They changed it back. You speak first, and then after you speak, I'll tell you why you're wrong, even though I have no idea what you're about to say, but I'm sure you're wrong.
I'm going to tell everybody what has happened this week. Once again, Donald Trump has saved America. And he did so by saving Uncle Herschel and the barrel in the Cracker Barrel logo. And reminding us all that it's about what Americans want. It's not about what woke DEI media idiots on Madison Avenue or in big blue cities think. Right. It's about what the consumer thinks. And Cracker Barrel is part of Americana. I go to Cracker Barrel. I love Cracker Barrel. If they went with that crappy new logo and they would have taken out Uncle Herschel and taken out the barrel, then I would not be a consumer of them anymore. Because part of the reason I go there
is to see this. You go there because you want to see this?
Yes.
You go there because
that's symbolic of the place I'm going into. It's old school type place. It's hometown.
It's old school. And if this guy's not on their logo, then it's no longer old school.
Yes, because if you saw, that's part of the whole new branding. The clean logo is part of a white wall. It's not white walls now.
It's woke.
It looks like an old shed.
How is the new brand?
It's the best thing in the world. I love it.
But how is the new brand woke?
Because it's revisionist type history. It's
revisionist.
Not homage. Yes, it's not.
They are the first company to rebrand. Revisionist.
But Light rebranded. How did that one go? Come on.
All right. So they didn't change. This isn't the new Coke where they actually changed Coke. Yes, None of their products are different.
They did change. No, go to the one on the east coast of Florida. They put in a brand new Cracker Barrel, okay?
Yeah, so you're saying this is woke.
Michael, the reporting here has to show the fact of what the changes on the walls of Cracker Barrel. Show the walls of Cracker Barrel now and the walls of Cracker Barrel as they made them in that.
You're saying this is woke. You're saying this is woke.
It's part of a woke system, yes.
It's part of the woke system. This Cracker Barrel is supposed to. This is woke. You know. Yes. You know what I think? Yeah, they backed down, and I think they had to. But this was a contrived controversy, and the conservatives just created a controversy out of nothing. But they had
not
to.
Controversy out of nothing. They're taking away our Cracker Barrels.
They didn't take away anything. They changed the logo. They changed the logo, and the conservatives are doing exactly what they claimed about the liberals. This is like a outrage over nothing. You guys are as pathetic as the liberals. It is nothing.
Nothing. This is a symbol of the American South.
A symbol of nothing.
And the Waffle House. And the eateries that regular people go to. I know that you're an urbanite.
And the regular people can still go there.
What Southerners and the rest of the Americans like. But that's what we like. That's what we like, Mike.
You like one logo over another. It's flipping ridiculous. All right. So Trump didn't have enough federal troops in Washington, D.C. He's threatening federal troops in Chicago. Go ahead.
Okay. So this, I think, may be one of the greatest ideas ever, because the blue state leaders and the blue city leaders in Chicago have been unable to corral the terrible, terrible problems in Chicago. And there are parts of Chicago, Michael, and you can testify to it, where you cannot walk the streets, even in broad daylight. That are just such bad places
there are no parts in Chicago where you cannot walk the street in broad daylight.
Oh, yeah?
Okay,
Mike, we'll go. We'll walk the streets. I'll be fine. I don't know about you, but we'll go.
I've walked
them. It's not going to be a problem because District of Columbia
broad daylight.
Michael, District of Columbia thought that Trump sent people in. There's been no killing since Trump came in and sent in the National Guard and took over the failing police department.
And you know what? If we have a police state... Right, if we have a police state, crime will go down. That's what he wants, is a police state. Is President Trump a small government conservative?
President Trump is a constitutionalist. President
He's
Trump
not a
says
constitution. Hold
yes,
on.
he is.
All right, whoa, 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 whoa.
When the
Where,
blue cities
where in
fail
the
to discharge their duty to protect the persons and properties and the life and liberty of their people, Trump steps in because Big
Right.
Bad Daddy Trump is there to protect them.
No, number one, crime is down in Chicago, whether you like it or not. Crime is down. There is nowhere in Chicago where you and I could walk the streets in broad daylight and be safe. I was at I think it was a Whitney Young game watching Michael Jordan's son. This is many years ago when he was in high school, Marcus, the one who's nailing Scottie Pippen's wife now. And I was talking to a guy, a black guy, and he said, "You're fine anywhere. If somebody goes after you, the cops actually will investigate. The problem is someone like me who is black. So you and I are fine walking the streets of Chicago. I've walked the roughest neighborhoods of Chicago. I've taken photos there. You are fine. And in broad daylight, you're fine. Number one, most of Chicago is safe. It's the pockets, south side, and it's more like the far south side, the west side, the way west side, not the near the west side. Where President Obama used to live is very safe, which is on the south side in Hyde Park. But the really rough areas are extremely rough, like where Derrick Rose grew up. That's a very rough area. But you can make things safer with a police state, which is what he wants. He is not a small government conservative. He doesn't love the First Amendment, and he definitely is not a constitutionalist because local policing is a 10th Amendment rights issue, and he has no respect for the 10th Amendment.
Two points on that, Michael. You said most. You admitted that it's not all. Shouldn't the goal to have all of the city be safe? Number one.
I don't live in a utopia.
Michael, wait, my other point. The reason why the city is not safe, right, in certain pockets, is because of the fact that people are not allowed to carry guns. Okay, that would never be a problem in Florida or Texas. In Chicago, if people got to carry guns into the quote-unquote pocket places, then there wouldn't be any problems. There would not be any problems.
Then you don't need then it's not a National Guard issue. I agree with that. I think it would be safer in those areas if people would carry guns. I think if the citizens of those areas cleaned up the garbage, that would also help. Those places are pigsties. There is
we
talked about this with Zoe Lee. She disagrees. She said that was a symptom of the problem. No one disagrees that it's a pigsty, which it is. But that said, yeah, I don't know if he's going to make it safer because I don't know if the National Guard is going to know what to do. It's a lot of intelligence work and community relations that would improve the situation. As far as the crime, Chicago, I think, has over 2 million people. There's going to be crime. There is no city the size of Chicago with no crime. So get that out of your head. Crime is down, murder is down, rape, all of the metrics are down. Whether you like it or not, I don't think that Johnson's done anything to make that happen, but crime is actually down. He's manufacturing emergencies, he's manufacturing crises, which is a pattern of his administration. He did that with the Aliens Enemies Act. He's doing that here. He's not a constitutionalist at all. He loves power. He uses power. And of course, he's only going to go into liberal areas, Chicago, Detroit.
Nobody wants to need it, Mike. Come to Florida. We're the safest place. Come on. Right, you don't mess around in Florida.
So Miami doesn't have any crime.
You don't mess around in Texas. Come on.
So so Dallas has no crime. Houston has no crime.
Go to Arizona. You don't mess around.
Right, Phoenix has no crime.
Mark Fincher will book you himself.
Right. Phoenix has no crime. That's Maricopa County. That has no crime. You're telling me there's no murders in Phoenix.
They ruin everything for everybody. The blue cities. Right. Austin, Texas is a shithole. Why? Because the liberals are in charge. Come on, Mike. Look at New York. New York, you're going to cross over from Long Island into Queens, and in 6 months, when Mandami is going to look like downtown Mogadishu. So get out of here, Mike. Come on. The blue states, the blue cities, they ruin it for everybody.
Right. All right. So I wanted to talk about this. This is one of the most interesting interviews I've ever seen. Carlos Slater, I don't know how this guy got out of jail, was interviewed by Michael Franzese. And for those who don't know who these two gentlemen are, Carlos Slater, as the thing says, he was one of the top lieutenants for Pablo Escobar. He created a smuggling route that included the Bahamas. That was like his criminal genius. No one had thought about going to the Bahamas. And it flew under the radar, pardon the pun, for a while, and he made obscene amounts of money. Michael Franzese was a capo in the Colombo family, but not just any capo. He was once described as the biggest moneymaker in the mob since Al Capone. Al Capone made obscene amounts of money. So did Michael Franzese. He created a gas tax scam, and I could never understand it. And he recently said, most people don't understand it. I was like, thank God. I thought it was just me. But Franzese went to jail, got out of jail, became a born-again Christian, and recently started a very popular YouTube channel. You think that Jeremy Hales has a lot of subscribers. This guy's almost 2 million, 1.74 million. So the two former gangsters interviewed each other. And here's a little tidbit of later describing it was Norman Skay that's in the Bahamas, how he did the smuggling.
Airplanes, helicopters, and my partners, my American partners. I learned a great deal from them, and had I not had them, I could have never achieved the economic successes. I dare say that regarding the word Medellin cartel, I must explain that there is too much literature totally presenting a misconception of what the Medellin cartel was. Actually, the DEA and the U.S. attorneys in Washington were the ones that put that title to the smugglers, cocaine smugglers from Medellin City. And in Medellin, when I was there, I was 19 years old, I began as a smuggler. And I will drive to Bolivia through Peru and Ecuador to bring cocaine to Colombia by my pickup truck. I explained that in the book. But the issue with the cartel is that many thousands, literally, of people in Medellin wanted to ship small amount of kilos of cocaine to their customers that wanted the cocaine in the United States, paying top dollar. But there was no safe, more or less safe, never guaranteed transportation.
All right, and he goes on. But what do you think of two former gangsters interviewing each other on YouTube?
I think it's brilliant. I think it's excellent and captivating. I think Frances has done great work to reform himself. He's found Jesus, and that's a great thing. I also think that later, he looks like he's reformed as well. It's not going to be doing what he did back in the day. So I have no problem with these guys. But I think the bigger point is something that I need to share with you, Michael. And I want to request you to share something. And this is something that I just picked up before we have here. And what I'll do is I'm going to show you this thing right here. This is and are you seeing it on the screen? This is something that just came out from the Office of the Inspector General of the FBI. And the investigative summary, it talks about what later was talking about. It talks about what Frances talks about a lot too. That it was a marketing gimmick by the FBI, the DOJ, the DEA. And now when you get that, they have all these things about how this Medellin cartel is a very specific organization, that there's all these people there, same with the Cosa Nostra and this and that, and years of quote-unquote research, and they can tell you every detail about it. But when it comes to them talking about stuff that's happening in their own FBI, it's vague bullshit, okay? Now, what we have in here is the report, okay? Well, look at this report, Michael. It's a one-page report. Why don't you read this report for us? I didn't show this.
Findings of misconduct by then FBI special agent in charge for failure to report subordinates' alleged misconduct and dereliction of supervisory duty. The Department of Justice Office of Inspector General initiated an investigation after receiving information from the FBI alleging that then FBI special agent in charge covered up the alleged misconduct of a subordinate rather than reporting it. The OIG investigation substantiated the allegation that then special agent in charge covered up a subordinate's alleged misconduct related to the installation of surveillance equipment on private property without consent or court order, rather than reporting the alleged misconduct in violation of FBI policy. The OIG investigation also found that then SAC acted in dereliction of supervisory duty by reprimanding other employees for reporting the potential misconduct in violation of FBI policy. Should I go on? They don't even say
there's only two paragraphs left, Michael. The point is that, okay, this is a one-page, and this is huge. They were violating people's rights. They're committing crimes, and there's a huge cover-up, and the DOJ gives you one page, okay, about what happened. That's all we get publicly. One page, okay? They don't tell you what city it was in, what state it was in. They don't tell you how many agents were involved in the cover-up. They tell you nothing. But the Medellin cartel, which was non-existent, It was a group of smugglers that they labeled and marketed as the cartel. La Cosa Nostra, which isn't even real. It was just, criminals that happened to be
Right.
Italian that they made into the mafia. Okay, this is what
Mhm.
the government's been doing for years. So I'm happy. I'm happy that Michael Franzese is airing this type of stuff, because the public has to know that up until Trump took office, that the FBI has been a corrupt organization, at least from the time that Comey was in, and at least at the time that Mueller was in. Since
Mhm.
about 2000, it has been a corrupt organization.
It's longer. It's longer than that, of course. There was a lot of abuses under J. Edgar Hoover. He was with the FBI for a long time. There was a Medellin cartel. They may not have called it the Medellin cartel, but what Pablo
The
Escobar?
government called it the Medellin cartel.
Well,
Mike.
the government gave it a name, but what Pablo Escobar ran was a cartel. He made billions of dollars. It was a real cartel. La Cosa Nostra is real. There is a real Colombo crime family. The two things aren't necessarily separate, but I agree that the FBI installing cameras without a court order is a very big deal, and we should know
One
who the
page,
special
Michael. One
right,
page.
give it one page. But that said, later's trying to reduce what the government did, but they knocked out the cartel. It was a very big deal what the DA did.
And they knocked out the mafia. And
they did.
Trump's knocking out the FBI, and that's the
Right.
point.
Well, we'll see.
Corrupt deep state FBI.
Right.
Now we have
we'll
real
see.
justice again.
All right, we'll see about that. The last current events topic: Trump fired some Federal Reserve Board president or governor, and all of a sudden, everyone thinks it's a big deal. And I have no idea why everyone cares about somebody no one ever heard of. Why does everyone care about someone no one ever heard of?
I'm going to tell you why. It's virtue signaling. It's under the radar virtue signaling, because if you look at her quickly, she looks just like Letitia James.
Right.
She looks and talks and sounds and thinks like Letitia James. And so they're saying Trump is going to get rid of people that look and talk and think like this. And they're trying to make this into a DEI, racism, virtue signaling type thing. That's all it really is. Trump has every right to dismiss this woman, who is basically an economic hack that was put in there by Obama.
He doesn't have any right to this. He doesn't have any right to this.
Everyone in the country's government serves at the pleasure of the United States president.
No, that's not.
Everybody in the executive branch serves at the pleasure of the United States.
The Federal Reserve isn't part of the executive branch, however.
Well, then Trump should kill the Federal Reserve.
Right. Well, he can go try. He can pull an Andrew Jackson and try and do that.
I would
have to pass a law. But that said, the reason he wants to get rid of her is because she's against rate decreases, and
no, not at all. She has a mortgage fraud, Mike. She's like,
it has nothing to do with her skin color or her gender. I agree with that, but she doesn't walk in lockstep with him. All of a sudden,
mortgage fraud.
Every single Trump enemy has committed mortgage fraud, and Trump
is all crooks, Mike.
They're not all crooks. Either that or he's the crook, because all of a sudden
Schiff is a crook all day long. He goes to bed at night. He wakes up in the morning. He's a crook. He's a crook when he sleeps.
Right. Or Trump is labeling every political opponent as a mortgage fraudster. Probably the latter, not the former. And they're all Democrats. Republicans apparently don't commit mortgage fraud. That never happens to Republicans.
They're not as stupid as the Democrats, obviously. That's what's evident right now.
The only crimes that Trump's administration investigates are crimes done by Democrats. He's taking us towards being a kangaroo outfit. We're going to be third world, where when you're out of power, you go to jail. Go ahead. Anything you wanted to add?
I don't want to add anything else other than the fact that the reckoning is here. Trump is the sheriff.
Yeah, the reckoning is here. If you speak out against President Trump, you're going to be fired.
Why would you speak out against President Trump? He's doing such a great job.
Why? Because we have a First Amendment, and not everything he does is swell.
I agree that I did disagree that the Gulf of America should have been named the Gulf of Buckies. I did disagree with that. But everything else, I think, is 100%.
All right.